31 guests stayed in room 503 over 11 years. 31 different people. 31 different dates. Every single one wrote the same sentence on their comment card. Word for word. I have the stack, file box CR 2014, and the archive box below it. 31 cards, different paper, different pens, different handwriting, same sentence every time. The oldest card is dated March 4th, 2011. I didn't start at that hotel until January 6th, 2014. My name is on that card, printed in the acknowledgement field. Received by, and then my name, 3 years before I ever set foot in that building. My name is Donna Rhett. I worked the night audit at a mid-tier chain hotel in Lansing, Michigan from 2014 to March 2017. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. 5 nights a week. The hotel was a 5-story Regent property built in the early 90s. 112 rooms, 1 elevator, 1 stairwell at each end. The 5th floor had 12 rooms, 501 through 512. I was not the kind of person who believed in this kind of thing. I kept a balanced audit ledger for 3 years without a single carryover error. I had written disciplinary incident reports. I had evicted 2 guests for smoking in non-smoking rooms. I had called 911 twice. I was methodical. The night I'm talking about was November 14, 2016. Patricia Dowd was a business traveler from Columbus. She had stayed with us 4 times before. Room 503, always. She requested it. When she came down to check out at 6:45 a.m., I was the one behind the desk. She set her key card on the counter and I started processing her folio. She said, "I'll probably be back in January." I said, "We'll keep the room on file for you." She picked up her bag. Then she said, "The woman in that room never bothers me anymore." I looked up. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the elevator. She said she was standing at the window when I woke up. She didn't move. I didn't either. She said it the same way someone would describe the weather. Then she walked out. I didn't say anything. I just stood there. The sentence hit me before I could understand why. It took about 4 minutes before I placed it. 2 months earlier, a guest had checked out of 503. Different person entirely. A man named Gerald, traveling with his wife. As I handed him his receipt, he'd said almost the same thing. Not almost, the same thing. I had written it in the incident log that morning and then moved on. We get strange comments sometimes. People sleep badly. People dream. I'd thought nothing of it in September. But in November, standing at the desk after Patricia Dowd walked out, I pulled up the incident log and read what Gerald had written. I had taken it down verbatim because I always took things down verbatim. She was standing at the window when I woke up. She didn't move. I didn't either. That was the sentence. And Patricia Dowd had just said it out loud like she was reading from that same page. I don't know why I went to the file room instead of finishing my shift close. I had 40 minutes left. I should have been reconciling the night rack. Instead, I went to the 2nd floor file room and I pulled file box CR 2014. That box holds comment cards from January 2014 through December 2016. We used paper comment cards in those years. Management liked them. The cards sit in hanging folders by room number. I pulled the 503 folder. There were 14 cards in it. I read the first one. It was from a guest in April 2014, 2 months before I started working that shift regularly. She'd had a good stay. She liked the pillow menu. She gave us 4 out of 5 stars. In the additional comments section, in looping cursive handwriting, she had written, "She was standing at the window when I woke up. She didn't move. I didn't either." I read it twice. Then I read the next card. June 2014. A couple from Detroit. Business and leisure. They'd both signed it. In print letters, one of them had written in the comments box, "She was standing at the window when I woke up. She didn't move. I didn't either." I put that card face down on the table. I picked up the next one. August 2014. She was standing at the window when I woke up. She didn't move. I didn't either. I kept going. 7 cards from that box, 503 only. 7 different guests, 7 different handwriting styles. Some all caps, some looping. One with a pressed hard ballpoint like the person was angry. Same sentence, every time. The room directly across the hall from 503 is 504. It has its own folder. I pulled it. 12 cards. Different complaints, different compliments. A noise issue in 2015. A broken safe in the spring of 2016. Not one comment about a woman at the window. I pulled 501, then 502, normal. I put the 503 folder back. I stood in the file room for probably 3 minutes without moving. I photographed every card with my work phone. 14 cards from CR 2014, 7 of which had the sentence. I logged the box back in. Then I sat at the night desk and I looked at the photographs. 7 images, 7 guests, 7 identical phrases. The day shift was coming in at 7. I had maybe 25 minutes. Sandra, the day shift supervisor, came in at 6:58. She said, "Good morning." I said, "Can I ask you something before I leave?" She set down her coffee. I said, "The archive boxes, the comment cards before 2014, where are those?" She said, "Harlan's storage room, on the shelf right side. Why?" I told her I thought we had a guest experience pattern in one room and I wanted to pull it. She looked at me like she was going to say that was a lot of work for the end of an overnight shift. She said it anyway. I said, "I know. Can you get me the key?" She did. The GM's storage room is behind the housekeeping corridor on the first floor. It smells like old ledger paper and carpet cleaner. The archive comment card boxes are on the right side shelf. They go back to 2005. I pulled the boxes from 2011 through 2013 first. 3 boxes. I found the 503 folders. I sat on a step stool in that room and I went through every one. 17 cards for room 503 across 3 years. I read each comment section. 10 of those 17 had the sentence. Same words. A woman at the window. She didn't move. The guest didn't either. One card from 2012 was barely legible. The ink faded on the corners. But the sentence was there. I could make out every word. Different paper. In 2014, the hotel had switched to a thicker stock with the new logo. The 2011 cards were the old thin paper with the old logo. The Regent crest, not the current shield design. Different cards, same sentence. I kept that stack separate. I had not yet looked at the oldest box. Box CR 2009 through early 2011. That's where the March 4th, 2011 card was. I didn't know that yet. I was still sitting on the step stool when Sandra knocked on the storage room door and said, "Donna, your shift ended 11 minutes ago." I told her I'd be right out. I was looking at a card from October 2011. The handwriting was angular, block letters. She was standing at the window when I woke up. She didn't move. I didn't either. Below that, the guest had added one more line. I had not seen this on any other card. The line said, "I didn't ask who she was. I already knew. I photographed it." Then I put everything back, locked the storage room, and left. I drove home in the November dark, and I sat in my car in my own driveway for probably 15 minutes before I went inside. That was the first morning. It got considerably worse. I came back the next night with a plan. I would do my regular shift, and at around 2 a.m. when the building was quiet, I would go back to that storage room and pull the oldest box. CR 2009 to early 2011. I wanted to know when it started. I came back the next night at 11 p.m. The building was half occupied. 14 rooms on the books, spread across 3 floors. 503 was occupied again. A different guest. A man who'd checked in that afternoon, traveling alone. He'd paid cash, which we didn't usually allow, but the day shift manager had made an exception. I noted that in the log and moved on. I ran the first hour audit, reconciled the cash drawer, and then at 12:45 a.m. I let myself into the GM's storage room with the key Sandra had left at the desk for me. I found box CR 2009 through early 2011 on the second shelf from the bottom. Tan cardboard. The masking tape label was yellowing. I sat on the same step stool as the night before, and I pulled the 5103 folder from this box. 9 cards. I went through them front to back. The first 6 were routine. A burnt light bulb in 2009, a noise complaint, 2 guests who'd left 5-star ratings with no additional comments, one from a woman who appreciated the blackout curtains. The 7th card, February 14th, 2011, Valentine's Day. A couple had stayed in 503 for 2 nights. Their handwriting in the comment box was small and careful, like they had thought about what they were going to write before they started. She was standing at the window when I woke up. She didn't move. I didn't either. The same sentence. No extra line this time. No additional note. Just the sentence. I set it face down and picked up the 8th card. February 2011. A solo business traveler. Same sentence. Different hand. I started to reach for the 9th card. Then I stopped because I realized there was a 10th card wedged behind the folder separator. I hadn't seen it at first. Old paper. The original thin stock from before the 2008 renovation, even older than the other cards in that box. I pulled it free. The date on that card was March 4th, 2011. The paper was slightly water-stained on one corner. The handwriting in the comment section was cramped but legible. I read the sentence before I looked at anything else because by now I expected it. She was standing at the window when I woke up. She didn't move. I didn't either. Yes, there it was. Then I looked at the top of the card. Most of our comment cards had 3 fields at the top: room number, date of stay, and a received by field for the front desk staff member who'd collected the card at checkout. Most of the time that field was left blank. We didn't require staff to sign it. On this card, the received by field had been filled in. Printed, not cursive. Block letters in blue pen. The name printed there was mine, Donna Rett, my full name, in a field on a card that had been filled out on March 4th, 2011, 34 months before I started working at that hotel. I put the card on the floor. I stood up. I walked to the hallway, turned around, and walked back. I picked the card up. I read it again. The name had not changed. I photographed it 6 times from different angles. I put the card back in the folder in the correct position. I put the box back on the shelf. I walked back to the front desk and sat down. The lobby was empty. The clock above the mailboxes said 1:17 a.m. Outside it was snowing. I thought about data entry errors first. The most obvious explanation. Someone had typed my name into a field by mistake, but the field wasn't typed. It was handwritten. The blue ink was the same shade, the same pressure, the same aging as the rest of the card. Someone had written my name there. In 2011, I pulled up the hotel's HR access portal on my work computer. I searched my own name. Hire date, January 6, 2014. Termination date, blank. Position, night auditor. There was no other Donna Rett in the system. I searched just the surname. Rett, 1 result. Me. I searched for previous employees with that first name. Donna. 3 results. Donna K., housekeeping 2005-2007. Last name completely different. Donna V., front desk 2009 to 2011. I clicked on that one. Donna V. Her last name was not Rett. Not even close. She had left the property in May 2011, 2 months after the date on that card. She had a different employee ID. Her photo was in the system. She did not look anything like me. 3rd result. Another Donna in banquet services, 2003 to 2004. Not me. No one with my name had ever worked at that hotel before I arrived. I called Sandra the next morning when I got home. I told her I had found something strange in the archive cards and I needed to show the GM. She said Harlan was in on Wednesday and she'd set up 10 minutes. I said, I need more than 10 minutes. She said, I'll get you 15. I met with Harlan Bess on Wednesday afternoon. He was a compact man who wore short-sleeved dress shirts year-round. He had run the property for 9 years. I showed him the photographs on my phone. I showed him the 7 cards from 2014 to 2016 with the matching sentence. I showed him the 10 cards from 2011 to 2013 with the matching sentence. I showed him the March 4th, 2011 card. I pointed to my name in the received by field. He looked at it. He said, could be a coincidence. Common enough name. I said, Donna Rhett is not a common name. I've never met another one. He picked up the phone on his desk, called the front desk, asked whoever answered to pull my personnel file and bring it to his office. The file came. He looked at my hire date. He looked at the card. He said, could be a data entry thing. Someone may have filled that field in retroactively. I said, the ink is original. That card was filled out in 2011. The paper stock was discontinued after the 2012 renovation. He said, you're not a document examiner, Donna. I said, no, but I know our paper stock. I've handled thousands of these cards. He handed me back my phone. He said, I wouldn't lose sleep over it. He went back to the spreadsheet he'd been looking at before I came in. The meeting was over. I did lose sleep over it. I went home and I lay on my couch and I thought about what could explain a card filed in 2011 with a name that did not belong to any employee who worked at that hotel in 2011. I thought about someone guessing a future employee's name at random. That required accepting that someone in 2011 had written, at random, the full name of a person who would not arrive for 3 more years. I could not make that work. I thought about a coincidence. 2 people with the same first and last name. No record of the other person in any HR file. I couldn't make that work either. I thought about a prank. Someone had gone into the old archive box and planted a card. But the card was on original paper stock that hadn't been in production since 2012. That paper wasn't stored anywhere on property. I would have known if it were. The guest in room 503 that second night, the man who had paid cash, had left without comment. He was gone before 6 a.m. He had not filled out a comment card. Sandra told me that when I came back for my 3rd shift. No card for 503, she said. The card was on the desk, blank. He didn't fill it out. I looked at her. I said, the card was on the desk when housekeeping went in? She said, yeah, just sitting there with a pen next to it. She didn't think anything of it. Housekeeping sometimes leaves the comment cards out as a prompt for guests, but our policy was to leave the card on the television stand, not the desk. The desk was where the in-room stationery went. Someone had moved the comment card to the desk, or put it there. Sandra had already moved on to the housekeeping schedule. I stood at the desk and thought about that blank card. A blank card. On the desk. Waiting. I told myself I was reading too much into it. I told myself I would not go to room 503. I told myself that for 4 more days. The 5th night after I found the card, room 503 was vacant. It had been vacated that afternoon. A business traveler who'd checked out at noon, no issues, no comment card. Housekeeping had turned it by 3 p.m. It was sitting empty, cleaned, ready for the next day's arrivals. I know because I checked the PMS 3 times before midnight. I told myself I was just monitoring occupancy. At 2:14 a.m., with the lobby empty and the night quiet, I signed a key card to room 503. I wrote in the access log exactly what I was doing. Staff inspection 503, night audit, DRET, 2:14 a.m. I do not know what I expected to find. I think I expected to feel nothing. I think I expected to walk in, look at the desk, and see a blank card, and then feel relieved that nothing had been staged there for me. The room smelled like fresh cleaning solution and the faint chemical smell of new towel stock. The lights in the bathroom were on low, the nightlight setting that housekeeping always left. The rest of the room was dark. I turned on the entry hall light. The room was standard: 2 queen beds, a television stand, a small round table by the window with 2 chairs. The blackout curtains were drawn. The desk was on the left wall. The comment card was on the desk, centered. There was a pen beside it, positioned parallel to the card. Housekeeping does not leave the comment card on the desk. I knew that. I had told Harlan that. I walked over. The card was blank. Front, blank. Name field, date field, comment box, all empty. I turned it over. Back, blank. I set it back down exactly where it had been. I looked at the chair by the window, the round table, 2 chairs, curtains behind them. I sat down. I don't know why I sat down. I think I thought I would sit for a minute and think through the full sequence of what I knew, in order, like I would work through a ledger problem. Start with what is true. Follow the columns. Find the discrepancy. What I knew was true. 31 comment cards for room 503, spanning 11 years, all with the same sentence. The oldest card dated March 4, 2011, bearing my name in the acknowledgement field. No employee by my name before January 6, 2014. I sat in the chair and I looked at the wall, and then it was 4:51 a.m. The curtains were open. I don't remember opening the curtains. The first light was coming in through the window. November light, gray and flat. I was sitting in the same chair. I was cold. My hands were in my lap. On the desk in front of me, the comment card was face up. It had been filled in. I stood up and walked to the desk. I stood over the card. I read it. She was standing at the window when I woke up. She didn't move. I didn't either. The handwriting was mine. I know my own handwriting. I have very specific habits. The way my lowercase g curves, the way I close my O slightly above center. This was my handwriting. I had written that sentence. I did not remember writing it. I had been sitting in a chair in the dark for 2 hours and 37 minutes, and I did not remember any of it. And I had written the sentence. I picked up the card. I stood there for a long moment. Then I put it in my shirt pocket. I turned off the entry hall light. I locked the room behind me. I walked to the elevator. I went back to the front desk. I logged the exit time, 4:53 a.m. Staff inspection complete, 5:03. I sat at the desk for the remaining hour and 4 minutes of my shift. I processed the checkout queue. I printed the occupancy summary. I did every task in order correctly. When Sandra came in at 6:58, I handed her the overnight log. I said, "Everything's squared away." She said, "You look pale." I said, "I didn't sleep well." She poured herself coffee and I walked to the parking lot. I sat in my car. I took the comment card out of my pocket. I read it again. Same sentence. My handwriting. I put it in my glove compartment. I drove home. I did not go back. I called Sandra 2 days later and gave notice. I said I had a family situation. She asked if I needed leave instead of resignation. I said no. She said she was sorry to lose me. I said I was sorry too. Harlan sent me a separation form to sign. I signed it and mailed it back. I never stepped inside that building again. I kept the photographs on my phone for about 6 months. 31 cards, 7 from the current box, 24 from the archives. The March 4, 2011 card with my name. I looked at them sometimes and I tried to build an explanation that worked. I tried the obvious ones first. Hoax. Who ran a hoax across 11 years of individual guests, sourcing discontinued paper stock, mimicking the same sentence in different handwriting, planting a card with a name that wasn't hired yet. Coincidence. 11 years is not coincidence. A matching name is not coincidence. 2.5 hours of lost time in a hotel room at 3 in the morning is not coincidence. Something wrong with me. I considered this seriously. I had a physical in April 2017. I had an MRI in June, nothing found. Neurologically normal, no prior episodes of lost time. The doctor asked if I was under work stress. I said I had recently quit a job. He said that could account for sleep disruption. I said maybe. I did not tell him what I had found in the file room. I did not tell him I had woken up in a hotel room with 2 hours missing and my own handwriting on a piece of paper. I did not tell anyone for a long time. The last thing I want to tell you is this. In February 2018, about 11 months after I quit, a friend of mine was traveling for work. He was staying at a different hotel, different chain, different city, Indianapolis. He called me from his room. He was laughing, the way people laugh when something makes them a little uncomfortable. He said, "You know what's weird? The comment card on the desk here is already filled in." I stopped. I said, "What does it say?" He said, "Hold on." A pause while he crossed the room. It says, I can barely read the handwriting. She was standing at the window when I woke up. She didn't move. I didn't either. I did not say anything. He said, "Donna, you there?" I said, "What room are you in?" He said, "Room 503. I said, "Get out of the room." He laughed again. He said, "What?" I said, "Get your things and go down to the lobby and ask them to change your room." He said, "Why?" I said, "Just do it, please." He went quiet for a second. Then he said, "Okay." I heard him pick up his bag. I heard him open the door. I heard the sound of the hallway, the elevator chime, the low hum of the ice machine. He said, "I'm out. What was that about?" I said, "Nothing. Don't worry about it." I stayed on the phone with him until he was in the new room. He asked me what the card meant. I said I didn't know. That was the truth. I still don't know. I know that 31 people wrote the same sentence in a hotel room over 11 years. I know my name was on a document filed 3 years before I was hired. I know I sat in a chair for 2.5 hours without any memory of what happened in between. I know that when I looked at the card on that desk, the sentence was there, in my handwriting. I know I carried it home in my shirt pocket. It's in a shoebox in my closet. I checked last week. It's still there. The sentence hasn't changed. If you've ever stayed in a room 503 and found a comment card on the desk, not on the television stand, not in the folder, on the desk with a pen beside it, I'd like to know what you did next, because I made the